Hey everyone, it's Scott Norris here. So thanks to self-isolation, I've got some time to do a few more videos. So I'm continuing on with my blueprinting 101 and moving into conditional statements. So, how can we put some smarts into our code within a blueprint? So I have here our usual blueprinting 101 that we've been building throughout the previous three parts. So this is part number 4. And what we're going to have a look at is what we can do. So the conditional statements are not dissimilar to any other ones, but it's really the JavaScript. So the two lowers, two uppers to convert to string, convert to integer. You can do all sorts of functions like that. So they're all available, and there's actually within the documentation online, it's actually got a really good list of all of them. But let's see how we can put that into practice. So first off, I thought, well, part of when I do my test here, part of our thing is to add a username, right? So because this is a Linux-based system, maybe we want we want it to be lowercase, but we're not controlling this in any way here. So what we can do is, instead of playing around with regedits and someone not being able to follow the instructions, we just go whatever they put in, let's just put it all to lower, right? So within that, we've got, when we use the password, so we've got username here, so input username. So what we can actually do is do to lower, like that. So this will allow us to, no matter what they put in, could mix of caps, it could be all caps, it doesn't matter, it's just going to put it all to lowercase when it goes to put it into the system, right? Nice and easy, right? Now let's have a look at something else. So maybe we want to add a new input here. Let's just go. What do we got? Oh. So let's just go. Let's put a new input in. So we want deployment type. It's a good one. We'll do type of string, and let's do let's just do an enum. Yeah. Why not? Enum, and this one we're going to do deployment type development or production. So what we can do here is use these. So let's give it a let's give it a default. Let's make that development, and that's not going to work. There we go. And let's give it a title of deployment. All right, cool. So that's in there now. So what I want to be able to do is then change values within my blueprint based on whether production. So this could be, production, it might be HA. So we're going to be doing more count, for instance. So, or the size of the machine is going to be different. For dev, we might do them as a small. For production, we might do them as a large. Anything like that, right? So let's actually have a look. We've got this here, and we've actually got the flavor hard-coded here as small. So why not actually change that a bit? And we go, what we're going to use is a ternary operator, right? So if you've coded in JavaScript and other things, it'll be fairly familiar, but basically we're just going to say, basically, if this, then do this, else this, right? Nice and simple. So what we can do is we can go $input dot deployment type, if it equals, and we'll go development. Equals development, then we want this flavor to equal small, else we want it to be medium. Now again, I've got to pay for these from the provision, so I prefer them to be not massive. We wrap that up and bang. So that is a ternary operator. So what we're doing here is we're saying if the input equals development, then we want flavor to equal small. If it doesn't equal development, then we want it to equal medium as an indication there. And same with disk capacity, right? So we have the disk capacity down here. So actually, I forgot to remove that. But what we have here is essentially saying that, okay, we get to choose the disk capacity, but maybe just for operational point of view, we want to add 10%, right? So we do this by, and let's write this out again. So let's do that again. So this one will make it a little bit different than what I had already there. We go, right. Within here we go, okay, we want to add additional capacity based on operational. So we can say, all right, well, if it's dev, for instance, so we can say, let's combine this up a bit. So if we go, we can go input deployment type equals development. Then we want to equal input dot disk capacity, but else we want to do input dot disk capacity times 0.1 and close those brackets off. All right, so that's basically going to say, well, if it's development, then just take the disk capacity. If it's production, then we want to add 10%. So we can take that a little bit further too, is that we can have what have we got here? We could add a custom tag. So this is something, not custom tag, custom property. So when we do this and we get the out of the box properties that we can use, you can actually use your own, and that's just going to be a custom property on that resource type. So you can use this to then trigger events, and we'll get into extensibility and how we access that in probably the next part actually, since we've covered a lot of detail on just how to work around the blueprint here. So what we do here is we can say, right, I want a custom property called environment as an example, or environment. So just to do a comparison, we could go, well, instead of, I've already choosing that environment, right? But now I wouldn't double up like this, but just an idea is that we could go environment, we're already choosing, and this is probably something I could have done, we're already using public and private, right? So maybe we want, or maybe we might want security. Actually, let's do that, security, and then we can then put in another one. Let's go $, input dot network zone. Now what we can do here is actually say, and let's make this a little bit more complicated. So we can say use the contains function. So we can go contains, and again, these are all listed in the online documentation for VRA. So we can do contains, and so within here we have the first part of it, which is what we want to input, and then we have the second part of what do we want it to contain. So I'm going to say contain private. So instead of having to write out, if it equals exactly this, I can just does it contain private in the string, right? So it's almost like getting a substring out of it. So we can do that, and then actually before I do that, let's just make sure that we've got that set up properly, and then we can go. No, we want security private to be equal to classified. And then we can go else unclass. Well, actually, let's just do secret or protected, and this can be unclass. So let's make sure there's strings. And then we close that off and done. So that's using a contains function. But as you've seen here, we can use plus and minus. We can actually concatenate strings together as well. So I could take anything as an input and I can add them together as an example. So I could, for whatever reason, add AWS and the deployment type. So if I wanted to go, let's just do a temp property here, I could do input dot cloud plus dash plus input dot deployment type. And as you can see there, you've also got, I could do another plus dash plus, let's have a look at a environment dot deployment ID. Any of those environment variables that we can use, we can put in there, right? So we can do that. So this is how, I guess it's it's not exactly deep level, but it gives you an understanding of things you're able to achieve within the blueprint to give it some smarts. So let's actually go ahead and let's provision this. So let's go deploy this. We'll go blueprint 101 conditions, and we'll choose the latest draft. Go next. So deployment type's already there, great. Endpoint, let's go vSphere, OS, CentOS, disk capacity, username, sure, deploy. So we'll let that go off. Now, within here, within these things, how I have, equals. These can be greater than, equal to, less than, all the not equal to, all the standard operators that you'd normally work with within scripting are all available. Again, check out the site with all the functions, available functions and whatnot, and just have a play around, and you can start deriving a lot of information, filling in a lot of properties without having to worry about whether someone's input it in properly. And this allows you to then make a blueprint to be able to go through change control or whatever it is that the organization wants to do. So a lot of organizations will change control blueprint and then they can deploy 1,000 times, 100,000 times, doesn't matter. But having a blueprint that can work across your dev and production and any environment, right? That's one of the great advantages, is that once I've coded this up, I'm not adding in my own, I'm not adding in all these checks to say, if I choose this, then I want to use this plugin to be able to go to AWS, or this plugin to go to Azure, or and then based on them, I've got separate scripts for each one of them. I'm doing a completely agnostic blueprint here, allowing me to be able to put some smarts into it to fill in the properties and derive values from user input, right? So, really cool stuff. Now let's see, if we go to our deployment here, let's delete that. And let's have a look at this cloud machine. So we should be able to go to custom properties here. Now, we'll be able to see that, okay, security equals protected. Great, that's exactly what we wanted to say, right? Based on the network type that we chose. If we go down temp, so this is that big long string, so we can go, platform vSphere dash development dash, and this is the deployment ID. So, that added all that in there, great. And then, if we have a look at flavor is small because it's development. Now let's do a large just to see that change, right? So if we go deploy this, let's go deployment name. Large, current draft, it's fine. So let's go production. Let's choose vSphere endpoint, CentOS. Great, deploy. All right, so let's wait for that to pop up. All right, so if you have a look at this, we can go to custom properties, and we'll be able to see flavor type is medium. So exactly what we wanted. Large, I did put medium in there, didn't I? So if we look at flavor, yeah, small and medium. All right, cool. So those conditions are protected, are working as they should. That's really cool. So actually, let's have a look at the disk volume. Disk size. Let's I made a mistake. Yeah. Alright. So it did work, but there is a mistake there. That's my maths letting me down there. Is that if we have a look at our first one here, we can actually see that's 10 gig. But because my blueprint, because my thing said if it's not development, then it's input capacity times 10%, which means that if it's 10 gig, it's going to be 1 gig. Instead of adding 10%, I took 10% of the size. So that let's fix that up now. So it'd be input capacity plus input dot disk capacity times 0.15, that 0.01, wrap that all up, done. All right, so that should actually work. And actually, let's give that a go. So, yep, blueprint. Condition. Cool. That's pretty descriptive. Now we'll choose production endpoint, and let's actually change that to 20 gig, for instance. CentOS. Yeah, I don't really care about the username. And deploy. All right. So I'll go ahead. So yeah, this one large, as we see, this volume is 1 gig. So it didn't really work. It worked, but it didn't, obviously, my bad for the maths. So let's have a look at this now, and we can see it's 22 gig. So it took out 20 gig and added 10%, making it 22. All right, cool. So now that we sorted out that I didn't do well in maths, hopefully that helped. And next time we'll be back and we'll look at how to do extensibility. Extensibility is my personal favorite, and we can start, diving into how we reach out to third-party services and being able to do a full end-to-end deployment. It's going to be really cool. All right, cheers, bye.